All right, welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're going deep, like way back in time, into this foundational story from ancient India. It's called the Ramayana. We've got some really interesting insights from this podcast episode titled Ramayana, the timeless epic. And I'm excited to unpack some of this ancient wisdom and, I guess see how this story still has meaning for us even today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's so captivating about the Ramayana. This story, it's thousands of years old, and yet it still speaks to these really fundamental human experiences. Like, it's not just a story, right? It's a way to explore these timeless principles and ideas that are still so relevant.
Okay, so just to set the stage here, the Ramayana is considered one of the great epics, like up there with the Iliad and the Odyssey. Our source tells us it was written by this guy, Maharishi Valmiki. Now, he wrote it in Sanskrit. That's got to be, crazy old, right?
Yeah, we're talking over 2,500 years ago. So to put that into perspective, that's even before a lot of the ancient Greek philosophers we usually think of. It really predates so many of the philosophical and literary traditions that we often think about from that period.
And it's not a short story either. It's massive. We're talking about 24,000 verses, and they're all divided up into 7 books. They call them candas. It's a huge undertaking to even try to read the whole thing.
Right. It's a whole epic tapestry woven together, and each kanda is like a different chapter, focusing on a different part of the overall story. But the main character, the one we really need to know, is Lord Rama. And what's really important here is that he's considered the 7th avatar of Lord Vishnu. That's a major god. Vishnu is all about virtue, righteousness, that idea of Dharma.
So we're not talking about some random historical figure. Rama represents this ideal, this way of being. Now, early on in the story, we're introduced to this royal family. There's King Dasharatha, who rules in Ayodhya, and he has 3 queens, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. Talk about a complicated family dynamic.
Right. And the story dives into those dynamics. It explores the relationships between the king and his queens, the power plays, the alliances. And then from these 3 queens, 4 sons are born: Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna. And these bonds between the brothers, the loyalty and the rivalry, those become really crucial as the epic goes on.
And then there's this really key event. Rama wins Sita's hand in marriage. He does this by, get this, breaking the Shiva Dhanush. It's the bow of Shiva, another powerful god. It sounds like a serious feat of strength. I mean, what does that moment tell us about Rama?
It's more than just showing off his strength, It's about proving that he's worthy, that he's destined for great things. And Sita, she's a major character too. She represents purity, wifely devotion, those ideals. So their union, it's not just a marriage. It's a symbol of this perfect partnership.
But then things take a sharp turn.
Yeah.
Queen Kaikeyi, she makes this demand that forces Rama into exile for 14 years. That's a huge upheaval. Why? It's because of a promise, right?
Oh, well, exactly. King Dasharatha had made her this promise years ago. And in this culture, keeping your word, especially if you're a king, is paramount. So Rama, he accepts this exile, even though it's unfair. And Sita and Lakshmana, they go with him. They're totally loyal. It shows how important duty and righteousness are, even when things are really tough.
So they're out in the forest. And that's where we meet the villain of the story, Ravana. He's the demon king of Lanka. And get this, he has 10 heads. Talk about a scary image. What do you think all those heads represent?
Yeah, that's a powerful image, right? Those 10 heads, they show just how powerful Ravana is, how big his ego is. They represent his multifaceted evil. He's not just a simple bad guy. He's a really complex embodiment of negativity. And that really contrasts with Rama's virtue.
And so this is where Ravana kidnaps Sita. He tricks her with this illusion of a golden deer. It's so cunning and cruel, preying on Sita's innocence. What does this tell us about what kind of a guy Ravana is?
It shows that he's manipulative and deceptive, willing to use any means necessary to get what he wants. There's no honor in it, It's all about power, about taking what he desires. And this kidnapping, well, it's the event that kicks off the whole central conflict of the Ramayana.
And right after that, this character, Jatayu, this noble bird, he tries to stop Ravana. He fights to save Sita, but he dies trying. It's a really powerful moment of selflessness. What do you think Jatayu's sacrifice represents in the story?
Jatayu, he represents pure loyalty and courage. He knows he can't win against Ravana, but he fights anyway. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's impossible, even when you know you'll lose. It's about the principle of the thing.
Now, while this is happening, Rama starts making allies. The most important ones are Hanuman and Sugriva. They're the leaders of this monkey army, the Vanaras. How important are these alliances for Rama?
They're essential.
Yeah.
I mean, even a divine figure like Rama, he needs help. He needs people who believe in him. And Hanuman, he's a key figure. He's strong, devoted, and totally dedicated to Rama. And Sugriva, his story is all about political intrigue and loyalty, about keeping your promises.
So we're moving towards this big showdown in Lanka, and we get this incredible story about Hanuman. He leaps across the ocean to Lanka, finds Sita, and delivers Rama's message. That is a truly remarkable feat of devotion and strength. What's the significance of this whole journey?
It's an epic adventure in itself, you know. It shows Hanuman's amazing abilities, his strength, his intelligence, his absolute loyalty, his success. It brings hope to Sita and sets up Rama's arrival in Lanka. It's a huge turning point.
And to actually get to Lanka, Rama's army builds this massive bridge, the Ramset 2. I mean, that must have been an incredible undertaking. What does building that bridge symbolize, do you think?
It's about overcoming huge obstacles. It's about what you can achieve when people come together, when they're united and determined. It's a testament to the power of collective effort, of not giving up.
And then we get to the main event. The battle between Rama and Ravana. This is it, right? The ultimate fight of good versus evil. What are the key things we can learn from this epic clash?
It's not just about who's physically stronger, you know? It's about the moral principles behind the fight. Both sides have incredible warriors. But in the end, what matters is what they stand for, what they're fighting for.
And the podcast tells us that Rama ultimately defeats Ravana using this divine weapon, the Brahmastra. So what does that say about the way good triumphs over evil in the Ramayana?
It shows that Dharma, righteousness, it has this ultimate power. Even against the most powerful evil, it will win. The Brahmastra is like this divine force, ensuring that good will prevail, that adharma, unrighteousness, will be defeated.
After the victory, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana return to Ayodhya. They travel in the Pushpak Vimana, the celestial chariot. That must have been an incredible homecoming. What does their return journey symbolize?
It's the end of their long exile. It's about restoring order and righteousness to the kingdom. And the fact that they travel in this divine chariot, it emphasizes that the gods are with them, that their return is blessed.
And of course, this all culminates in Rama's coronation as the king. The podcast mentions that this is celebrated as the festival of Diwali. So the story of Rama is actually woven into the origin of Diwali.
Exactly. Lighting lamps during Diwali, it's about the return of light, of goodness after darkness. It directly connects to Rama's victory, to the defeat of Ravana and his evil.
Now, the podcast points out some really important lessons embedded in the Ramayana. The first one is Dharma. This idea of sticking to the path of truth, to moral principles. That seems to be the foundation of the whole epic. Why is it so important?
Dharma is like the moral compass of the Ramayana. It guides everything. Every character's actions, the consequences they face, it's all viewed through this lens of Dharma. Rama, he's the embodiment of Dharma. He always tries to do what's right, even when it's hard, even when it means sacrificing his own happiness.
And then there's devotion and loyalty, personified by Hanuman and his dedication to Rama. What makes Hanuman such a powerful example of devotion?
His devotion is absolute, pure, and selfless. Everything he does, it's for Rama. He loves and respects Rama so much. He's like the ultimate archetype of faith and how that faith can give you incredible strength.
And lastly, there's this idea of good overcoming evil, shown through Ravana's defeat. It's a message that we still need to hear today. Why do you think that is?
Because deep down, we all want to believe that good will win. The Ramayana gives us that hope, that even when things are dark, righteousness will prevail. That message, it resonates across cultures and time periods because it speaks to something fundamental in us. We all want justice and order in the world.
So the Ramayana, it's more than just an old story. It's this guidebook full of wisdom about love, sacrifice, duty, and how to live a good life. And it's amazing how these themes are still relevant to us today, even after all these centuries.
It makes you think, right? It makes you think about how those values, dharma, devotion, the victory of good, how those still shape how we see the world, how we define right and wrong, both for ourselves and for society as a whole.
And that brings us to our final thought for you. As you go about your day, think about those ancient principles, dharma, devotion, the triumph of good. How do they resonate with you? How do they show up in your own life, in your choices, in the world around you? It's something worth pondering, even long after our deep dive ends. Thanks for joining us today on The Deep Dive.